friends, Chelsea Collie here. Welcome back to my channel. I just wanted to go live and do a quick video on something that I feel is important. Thank you for coming back to my channel. And if you are new here, welcome and subscribe for more videos. So I just wanted to get this recorded because I did a short earlier and I know that a lot of people watched it and had over like 1.5 thousand views just within a few hours. So I definitely wanted to get this information out there as quickly as I could. So I'm recording this late, but that's okay. I just want to get this information out there so you guys can do with it whatever you choose. So I have been learning a lot of things, and I do have some concerns that I'd like to address. And, as I said in the short, it seems like there's a lot of criticism over the sound of freedom. And there's a lot of bunk, totally non-legitimate information out there, the stuff about Tim Ballard and wanting to chip your kids. I don't think any of that is valid. I haven't seen any proof regarding that. So there are some things that are totally false and, just hit pieces as far as the media is going. But then there are some things that are actually concerning. So those are the things that I wanted to bring up and discuss with you tonight. So my goal here is just to present the information to you. And I'm going to try to stay very middle of the road because I do support the movement. I do support the awareness about human and child trafficking. And I'm totally against any kind of evil brought upon children or anyone for that matter. So I do want to, present the information. I'm going to, present both sides. I feel like a lot of us here already know kind of like the light side and the positive of what is happening with the sound of freedom. Jasmine, my dog is scratching down here. But, there are some things, like I said, that do deserve our attention. We can't just blindly trust some of these things when we see them. We have to actually acknowledge, especially when these are legitimate concerns regarding the funding and some of the connections that the Sound of Freedom has. So just understand that I'm going to be presenting some information that may be triggering to someone who really supports the Sound of Freedom movement, but understand what I'm presenting is like, it's pretty solid. I mean, it is like pretty irrefutable facts because they are admitted by Tim Ballard and Paul Hutchinson, regarding like the funding and things like that. So it's not to trigger people, and please don't, attack me or tell me not to share or have any kind of abusive comments. Those people will be deleted and blocked. So no tolerance for any of that. But I'm just sharing this legitimate concerns because of what I've learned. And as I said, Tim has admitted this, Paul has admitted this. These are irrefutable facts. The two main issues that I'm going to go over, as far as I know, are facts. So understand, again, I am not against Sound of Freedom. I am just looking at both sides. And it is my goal to share, the light and the dark, and then figure out what kind of questions we have so that we can get our questions answered, right? So, God uses evil all the time to expose darkness. And so it's totally possible that there's going to be some evil connections that are going to be exposed in this process, and everything will come to light. But we're just going to put the information out there That way we have some of the great questions as well when we get Paul Hutchinson on an interview. So we do have an interview coming up with Paul Hutchinson. He is someone who used to work with Tim Ballard very closely, actually in rescues. And as far as I can tell, Paul Hutchinson is a really great guy. As far as I can tell, like everything I know, it seems like he's really legit. And not only from what I can tell, online and seeing the information and the interviews that he's doing and everything like that, I actually met Paul Hutchinson. So I do have a unique connection and I am part of this somehow. I'm not exactly sure how exactly yet, but I did actually meet Paul Hutchinson privately at an event in 2018. This was an event that was a private global mastermind where we paid a lot of money to get in a room. And we were there with Power Team International, Bill Walsh, and Paul Hutchinson was one of the featured speakers. Now, Paul Hutchinson was coming in to talk about his I believe it was $12 billion hedge fund that he started. And he was coming in to talk about that hedge fund that he built. And we're all like, whoa, this is so exciting. We get to hear from this guy. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, I have a $12 billion hedge fund. No big deal. What my passion is about the kids. And he literally spent at least I want to say maybe more, maybe 2 or more hours literally talking about the rescues and about the children. And I'm telling you, what he said in that room in 2018 at Atlantis in the Bahamas, in a private setting, when he was still undercover, he didn't have any social media. There are all the same things he's saying now. I'm getting a little emotional because there is something important, that I was there and I witnessed what he said then. And then here we go, like 5 years later, he's actually going public and talking about it. And he's saying the same things he was saying then. So I really feel like Paul Hutchinson is legit. And Paul, just to let you know, he actually split ways with Tim Ballard about 5 years ago. And he doesn't really go into the details too much. He just says that they had differences when it comes to the way that the money was spent. And he said, you really need to make sure you know how the money is being spent when you donate to something. So that's Paul Hutchinson. And I'll just show you. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Differences when I see there are some people watching. Hi guys, welcome. Okay, so here we go. Here's what I'm going to show you. This is a picture of me and Paul, and this was back in 2018. So yeah, that's Paul Hutchinson, and that's me. So just proof that we did meet. Okay, and so as I mentioned, or maybe I didn't mention, we have an interview coming up. I have an interview coming up with Paul Hutchinson on August 9th at 4 p.m. Central. So mark your calendar. That's going to be a really good one. And we're going to get all the questions in order so that we can fully understand. And I want to be able to support this movement 100% and know that, I'm not supporting anything evil. And so we're going to make sure we get all of our questions answered. So there's that. Okay, so the two main issues that I have, there is a lot of information out there, like I said. But the two main issues that I have to do with the funding and have to do with the Knights Templar connection. And so those are the two things that I'm going to be going over on this video. And these things, like there are little rabbit holes and there are other things that lead to other things that are unverifiable. But the two things The Carlos Slim connection and the Knights Templar are legit. They're factual. There's evidence. And even Paul Hutchinson admits that he is a Knights Templar. So let me go over these connections, okay? So the first thing, the Carlos Slim connection. So let me share this video. If you haven't heard of this, Carlos Slim is apparently one of the major funders of the Sound of Freedom. So let me go ahead and share. This video. Here we go.
From Mexico, JP, John Paul DeJoria.
Fox is help distributing it. Really?
Yeah, Fox, Century Fox.
And for the folks who don't know who's paying for this
You guys hear
movie
that?
to come about?
I think Jim's, aren't you putting the bill? A great group of people have come together to invest in this production. Some of them, the Carlos Slim family is involved.
Really?
From Mexico, JP, John Paul DeJoria.
Fox is help distributing it. Really?
Yeah, Fox, Century Fox.
And for the folks who don't know who's paying for this movie to come about?
I think Jim's, aren't you putting the bill?
Okay, so it played once. I'll just play it one more time.
A great group of people have come together to invest in this production. Some of them, the Carlos Slim family is involved.
Really?
From Mexico, JP, John Paul DeJoria.
Fox is help distributing it. Really?
Yeah, Fox, Century Fox.
And for
Okay, so he said the Carlos, they asked who's funding. He said the Carlos Slim family. That's the first thing he said. Okay, this is the next clip.
Yeah, Fox, Century Fox.
and for the folks who don't know who Carlos Slim is, tell them who he is.
He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. Telecommunications in Mexico, Latin America. His son Patrick is the real the point of contact for that. He's very passionate about what we're doing and fighting trafficking. And then there's several other groups that have come in to invest in this picture, and it's the people that have invested in it are true believers in what we're doing, and they are
Really?
yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Crucial 13. Yeah, I've seen your work. So thank you for your work on this. I appreciate you. Okay, so that clip was from 5 years ago, okay?
Some of them.
So, they did mention that Fox was the distribution at that time. Well, that was 5 years ago. That's not the case anymore. As we know, well, as some of us know, Disney bought out Fox, and then Disney shelved it, meaning they decided that they weren't going to do anything with it. But just to let you know, this is a 5-year-old video. This is an interview that Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard did with Fox 13 News Utah. Okay, so there's that. They admitted it. This is fact. Okay, this isn't an AI bot, and he's never come forth and said, hey, no, Carlos Slim didn't fund it. No, Carlos Slim family funded it. And I do think it's interesting that they use the terminology, the Carlos Slim family, and not just say Carlos Slim. I think that's interesting because this is what Paul said about it. Okay. And remember, Paul Hutchinson, I haven't mentioned this actually, he is actually an executive producer of The Sound of Freedom. So this is what Paul said.
Well, I funded the.
So this is actually from.
We decided.
I posted a video yesterday that said, why did The Sound of Freedom take 5 years to come out? This is a little clip from that 2-minute video I posted. And here he's talking about the funding. Keep in mind, this man is a co-founder of a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund. Okay? So he helped with the funding. He was the first money in. So listen to what we have. He says here regarding the funding.
We decided we would do it privately. So I funded the pre-production. All of that stuff was privately funded. I was the first money in to make that happen. And then we brought in the Waltons, the Walmart family, the Carlos Slim family together with me to make that happen. And then even after that, after we had it all filmed, then we had people like Disney that almost crushed us because Fox knew. We decided we would do it.
Okay. So he said that really quick, and then you can watch the rest of that clip if you want to watch the whole video. I recommend watching that whole video. You can see it at Liberating Humanity, his YouTube channel. But there is the link to the full video in the description, and you can watch that whole thing. But here you hear him say, now this is something I hadn't heard before, the Walton family. Okay, so you're talking not only the Carlos Slim family, but the Walton family actually was one of the funders. That's kind of concerning to me, to be honest. Let's just make sure we heard it right.
Privately. So I funded the pre-production. All of that stuff was privately funded. I was the first money in to make that happen. And then we brought in the Waltons, the Walmart family, the Carlos Slim family together with me to make that happen. And then
kind of interesting the way he touches his eyes when he says Carlos Slim too. I mean, come on, it's just a little weird. Maybe it was unintentional, but
the Carlos Slim family together with me to make that happen. And
family.
then even after that, after we had it all filmed, then we had people like Disney that almost crushed us because Fox knew. We decided we would do it privately. So I funded the pre-production. All of that stuff was privately funded.
Okay. So there you have it. It's irrefutable. The Carlos Slim family had a big part in funding The Sound of Freedom. Paul Hutchinson just told you that he funded all the pre-production, and then they needed more money. So they got money from the Carlos Slim family, the Walton family, and he doesn't actually mention John Paul DeJoria, but Tim Ballard mentioned John Paul DeJoria, who is kind of dirty too, to be honest. But okay, so there you have Tim Ballard admitting it, Paul Hutchinson admitting it. This is not a conspiracy. This is not a rumor. This is fact. It was actually funded by Carlos Slim and the Walton family. And per Tim Ballard, also John Paul DeJoria. So, I mean, if you just do a search on Carlos Slim, it's kind of concerning. I mean, Carlos Slim and the Clinton Foundation I don't know why it keeps doing this. Let's redo that here. I mean, you can just easily do your own search and just see how corrupt and dirty this Carlos Slim guy is. He's not only one of the richest people in the world, he's highly connected to the Obamas. Let's just check out the pictures. Highly connected to the Obamas, and I think he gave like 200 to 500 million to the Clinton Foundation. Here's Carlos Slim and Hillary Clinton dancing. Okay. Super corrupt. They have ties to the World Economic Forum, super close friends with the Rothschilds, did all of these initiatives in Haiti, El Salvador, South America. The list goes on. There's actually connections to Hunter Biden as well. It's pretty dirty. So that's it when it comes to, well, that's most of it. There is one more thing. I don't have it pulled up here, but Patricio, Slim Domit. Okay, so when it comes to the Carlos Slim family and the Carlos Slim connection, it's very important to know that Patricio Slim Domit was actually one of the executive producers for The Sound of Freedom. Okay. So you're talking not just funding the movie, but actually an executive producer as well. Now, not to say that, Patrick, I guess is what they call him, Patrick, he is Carlos Slim's son, doesn't mean he's dirty just like his dad, but it's the same money and it's concerning, to say the very least. Okay, this is all verifiable. You can search and you can see all this for yourself. So if that's the case, I just want to know why. It's like, here they are, they're trying to make a difference. They're trying to do this movement. They're trying to help kids. And, they're taking them, some kids here and some kids there, and they're trying to, free these children from their horrendous captors. And then you have a production company that contacted them, Alejandro Monteverde and Eduardo Verostegui, who was the producer. The production company, they're like, we want to make a movie about this. And so they're like, oh, great. Okay, let's fund it with dirty money. That just doesn't make sense to me. And I'm sorry, that's just not going to fly with everybody that cares about children. So someone's going to have to be accountable for this, and they're going to have to tell us why they funded this film with dirty money. On that, so, Paul Hutchinson was saying that he split ways with Tim Ballard because of the ways that he was spending the money. So if he had concerns about the way Tim Ballard was spending the money, and, his telling his audience that we should really see where the money goes before we donate to a cause, because that's important, why is it not then important where the money came from? That's my main concern. And that is a question that I will be asking Paul Hutchinson when we interview him on August 9th. So I hope you understand that's the Carlos Slim connection. It does go deeper. And I just want to let you know that I did post on the community tab a link for the Substack. It's Anon Famous Substack. And that is the Tim Ballard rabbit hole #1. And so if you if you do want to learn more about, some of the things that are kind of shady or sure seems that way, you have the choice, and you can go to the community tab and you can click on that and you can look at the Substack. I'm probably not going to go much deeper because a lot of that stuff is, we never know. Like, the cabal is in charge of the internet, and, there could be misinformation in there. I don't know. All I know is, like, this is legit. This concern is legit. So the other thing that is really out there, and it is kind of concerning, so I will mention it, is Gabriela Rico Jimenez. Now, we're talking about Carlos Slim, and we're talking about, some of the evil that they may or may not have participated in. We cannot just not mention Gabriela Rico Jimenez. So who was Gabriela Rico Jimenez? This is who she was. We're going to watch a video. And just to let you know, it looks like she was arrested at the end of this video and she was never seen again. So no one knows what happened to Gabriela Rico Jimenez. And you can just literally Google what happened to Gabriela Rico Jimenez, and there's a lot of information that comes out. So I cannot just go over the Carlos Slim information and not address this part. So that is here. So this is actually kind of dark. So, let's protect ourselves energetically and let's just send love to this Gabriela Rico Jimenez. We pray for her health and safety, and we pray that she is alive and safe, or, we just wish the best for her. This is very sad.
Vemos qué fue lo que decía esta joven al momento que estaba protagonizando este escándalo en plena vía pública. Adelante. Sí, esta es la triste realidad de la joven Gabriela Rico Jiménez, que como observamos en momentos, intentó también agredir al elemento policíaco que logró someterla esta madrugada. Es por eso que, bueno, vamos a buscar la versión de las autoridades del por qué uno está...
So sad. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she literally says they ate human flesh. They smelled like human flesh. And she was never seen again. So, that's the kind of connections we're talking about here. It seems thank you, Crucial 13. Were you not hearing sound for that video? That's a bummer. Okay. So that is the Carlos Slim connection, and that is just a little piece of it. So FYI, like that, it's dark and it's deep, and I just don't understand why they made this with dirty money. Okay, so that's part one. That's, the number one thing. Number two, here's my concern. We've heard a lot about the Freemasons and a lot about the secret societies and a a lot of these people, you know, maybe there's some good people in there, but a lot of them are very bad. And we do know that a lot of them do really worship Baphomet and worship the devil. Some of these Masons and Freemasons and stuff like that. So I was kind of surprised, you know, when I learned that some of them were Knights Templar. So this is one of the, you know, this is another concern that I have. So when I looked at Paul Hutchinson's website, I saw something on there. And let's see here. We're going to go to okay, so here's Paul Hutchinson's official website. We're going to About Paul, and then these are the list of achievements. Here it is, knighted Sir Paul Hutchinson by the Knights Templar in 2016. Okay, so that's just kind of a red flag for us, for many of us, knowing what we know. And then, so, you know, I thought about it because I thought it was kind of strange that, okay, so I believe Tim Ballard was actually working with Sean Reyes, and Sean Reyes was law enforcement and actually working under Tim Ballard. He was actually part of some of these rescues. He was actually in attendance. Sean Reyes is the acting attorney general of Utah, but he was actually there for the very first rescue, the Columbia rescue. And that's what the movie was like largely based on, was that first rescue that they did together, which, you know, the movie was actually several rescues combined into one story. But Sean Reyes is the one who like had the connection with Paul Hutchinson, I believe. So he's working with Tim Ballard. Tim Ballard's like, oh crap, you know, I don't know if this is the time where he left his job. But you know, they needed funding for one of, you know, for these rescues. And so they needed to look at private money and raise some private money. And so I believe it was Sean Reyes who made the connections, like, oh, call up Paul Hutchinson. So Tim Ballard called up Paul Hutchinson and asked him to come be there in person. Well, I mean, he did fund it, so they did get funding through him, but then he also called him and said, can you be there in person? So I thought about it and I was like, I wonder if Sean Reyes and Paul Hutchinson are also, I wonder if they have the bond because they are fraternity brothers or Knights of Templar brothers together. And isn't this interesting? All I did, this was even before I saw it on the Substack, I just Googled Sean Reyes Knights Templar and it came up. Isn't this interesting, you guys? Tim Ballard, Paul Hutchinson, and Sean Reyes were initiated Knights Templar together on the same day. So not only are they all Knights Templar, they were initiated on the same day together. And it's like, whoa, that was kind of a red flag for me. And then also, you know, you've got Jim Caviezel wearing this Jerusalem cross, which is also Knights Templar. So that's it. That's what I wanted to share. Those are the concerning connections. And this is just a start. So if you want to learn more, go to my community tab and you can click on the Substack article. And you can look there. And there is a part 1 and there is a part 2 if you want to look at those. But I would love to know your questions. What are your main concerns regarding the Sound of Freedom? I love that it is exposing evil. I love that it is inspiring people to get active and inspiring people to, get the exposure out there so that we can help the children, so that we can save the children. I love that. But I also feel like we should address some of these important issues on the interview that I have with Paul Hutchinson, who I believe to be a good guy, as far as I know. So prayers he is, So I think that's all I have to share. And thanks for tuning in. And please share this video. I know that a lot of people are really afraid to approach this subject because they, when anybody says anything about Tim Ballard, everybody's like, he's a hero, he's a hero, he's a hero. Like, yeah, he is a hero. I'm really thankful. If he really saved those kids, and, as far as I know, he really did save a lot of children. And I know Paul Hutchinson has been working hard. He's been part of and funded and been like the key role in over 70 rescues in over 15 countries. And so there's a lot of children that have been saved through this, as far as I know, and I pray that that's the truth. And also, I think it's very possible that some of these corrupt people were capitulated and possibly even forced to fund. What about that? Like maybe it is dirty money, but wouldn't that be kind of cool? Like, hey, you're going to put forth $10 million so you can expose yourself, bad boy. Like, wouldn't that be a gangster move? So, we can't just look at things as black and white or good and bad and just label people and, like disregard the whole movement. I don't want to do that. Sometimes you have to be part of a corrupt organization in order to expose it. So that's where we are, friends. Let me know your thoughts. Share this video and talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.